The Carter household buzzed with the warmth of a close-knit family, the kind that made others envious during holidays. Aaron Carter, the younger of two brothers, was a quiet but thoughtful man, devoted to his wife Emily and their 5-year-old son, Max. As the guests gathered for the annual family barbecue in late August, Aaron observed the lively chatter from his perch by the grill. His older brother, Jordan, was the life of the party. Charming and exuberant, he had a knack for drawing attention, something Aaron had always secretly envied. Yet, as Aaron flipped burgers and listened to Jordan recount tales from his latest road trip, he noticed an edge to his brother's humor, a carelessness bordering on recklessness. Jordan's laughter rang louder than usual as he downed another beer. He ruffled Max's hair, who giggled and clung to his uncle. Then, in a moment that would alter Aaron's life forever, Jordan said the words with a tipsy smirk, "My son, you're only 5 years old, and you don't even know who your real dad is." The laughter around the table froze. Conversation stopped mid-sentence, and the summer breeze carried an eerie silence. Emily's face paled as she tightened her grip on her glass, the ice cubes rattling. Aaron blinked, unable to process what he had just heard. "What did you say?" Aaron's voice was low, measured, like a dam holding back a flood. Jordan's eyes widened slightly, realizing his slip. It was just a joke, little bro, lighten up." But Aaron wasn't laughing. His mind raced with memories, strange glances between Emily and Jordan, moments that once seemed insignificant but now cast doubt over everything he believed about his marriage and family. The rest of the party proceeded in strained politeness, but Aaron barely registered it. His gaze was fixed on Emily, who avoided his eyes and seemed to shrink with every passing hour. That night, as they cleared the remnants of the barbecue, Aaron confronted her. "What did he mean, Emily?" His voice was firm but trembling. "Tell me the truth." Emily's silence was more damning than words. Her lips quivered, and tears welled in her eyes, but she said nothing. Aaron took a step closer, his heart pounding in his chest. "Emily. I deserve to know." Finally, she broke. The truth came tumbling out in broken sobs. Their struggles with infertility, Aaron's increasing distance during their failed attempts at parenthood, and Jordan's easy charm, all culminating in a betrayal she had never meant to confess. "It was a mistake," she whispered. "I was desperate for a child, and you were so distant. I thought if I could give you a baby, it would fix everything." Aaron reeled, the weight of her words pressing down on him like a physical force. Max, the boy he had cradled as a newborn, taught to ride a bike, and read bedtime stories to, might not be his son. His vision blurred with tears, but amidst the pain, a cold resolve began to take shape. "I see," he said quietly, stepping back. He needed time to think, to plan, and to uncover the full extent of the truth. Emily's sobs filled the room as Aaron retreated upstairs, his mind racing. That night, sleep eluded him. He stared at the ceiling, grappling with a maelstrom of emotions, betrayal, grief, and a burgeoning desire for justice, not just against Emily but against the brother who had shattered his trust. The seeds of a plan began to form, one that would expose the truth and teach both Jordan and Emily the lesson they deserved. The days following the barbecue passed in a blur for Aaron. He moved through life as though caught in a dense fog, speaking only when necessary and avoiding Emily's gaze. His brother Jordan had made a few half-hearted attempts to reach out, calls that Aaron let go unanswered, texts that he left unread. The silence spoke volumes. At night, the house was eerily quiet. Aaron could hear Emily crying softly in their bedroom while he lay awake on the couch, staring at the ceiling. He couldn't bring himself to sleep beside her. The betrayal was too fresh, too raw, and her presence only deepened the wounds. Meanwhile, Max's laughter echoed faintly from the memories of better times, now haunting Aaron like a ghost. Aaron knew he couldn't live like this forever. He needed answers. He needed proof. One evening, after putting Max to bed, Aaron sat down at his desk and began his research. He pulled up articles on DNA testing, reading about home kits and their accuracy. If Max wasn't his biological son, the test would confirm it. And if Jordan was the father, the fallout would be catastrophic, but at least Aaron wouldn't be living in the dark. The next day, Aaron told Emily he needed to work late. Instead, he drove to the nearest pharmacy and purchased a DNA testing kit. His hands trembled as he read the instructions, the weight of what he was about to do pressing down on him. Late that night, when Emily was finally asleep, Aaron quietly entered Max's room. His heart ached as he brushed the boy's soft curls aside and swabbed the inside of his cheek. Max stirred but didn't wake, and Aaron stood there for a moment, guilt and love warring within him. "Whatever happens," he whispered, "you'll always be my son." The following week crawled by as Aaron waited for the results. Emily noticed his growing tension, but she didn't ask questions. Her guilt kept her silent, her actions tentative, as though one wrong move would shatter the fragile truce between them. When the results arrived, Aaron hesitated for a long moment before opening them. His hands shook as he tore the envelope, his eyes scanning the paper for the answer he both dreaded and needed. Probability of paternity, 0%. Aaron felt the air leave his lungs. The confirmation was like a punch to the gut, and for a moment, he thought he might be sick. There was no denying it now, Jordan was Max's biological father. The betrayal burned hotter now, searing away the remnants of hope and leaving only the ashes of his trust. Yet even in his pain, Aaron's mind remained sharp, calculating. This wasn't just about him anymore. This was about Max, and about justice, not revenge, but a reckoning. Aaron spent the next few days meticulously planning his next move. He approached the situation with the same methodical precision he used at work, charting every detail, accounting for every possibility. The first step was to gather evidence beyond the DNA test, something irrefutable that could withstand scrutiny. One evening, while Emily was at yoga and Max was with a neighbor, Aaron slipped into her home office. Her laptop sat on the desk, password protected. Emily had never been particularly cautious, though, and Aaron guessed the password within minutes: Max's birthday. He sifted through emails and messages, finding nothing at first. Then, tucked away in a folder labeled innocuously as receipts, Aaron found what he was looking for: emails between Emily and Jordan. The messages started innocently enough, discussions about family gatherings and shared memories. But as Aaron scrolled further, the tone shifted. There were late-night exchanges, filled with thinly veiled flirtation, and then outright confessions of desire. His breath caught as he read one particular email from Emily. "Jordan, I don't know how much longer I can keep this a secret. Every time I look at Max, I see you. I see us. Aaron doesn't suspect a thing, but sometimes I wonder if he knows deep down." Aaron's blood boiled as he read the message. His suspicions weren't just confirmed, they were laid bare in cold, undeniable text. It was all there: the affair, the lies, and the terrible secret they had kept from him for years. But Aaron wasn't finished. He searched Jordan's social media accounts next, poring over posts and photos. His brother's careless nature worked in Aaron's favor. Jordan had left a digital trail that told a story of clandestine meetings and shared moments far too intimate for mere siblings-in-law. The day of reckoning came sooner than expected. Jordan called that afternoon, insisting they meet. Aaron agreed, his voice steady despite the storm inside him. They met at a local bar, Jordan arriving with his usual bravado, slapping Aaron on the back as though nothing had happened. "So, little bro," Jordan said, flashing a grin. "How's life?" Aaron stared at him, his face unreadable. "Life's complicated." "You?" Jordan shrugged, taking a sip of his beer. "You know me. Always living the dream." Aaron leaned in, lowering his voice. "Is that why you decided to live it with my wife?" Jordan's face froze, his smirk faltering. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about you and Emily," Aaron said, his voice cold. "I know about the affair. I know Max is your son." Jordan's beer nearly slipped from his hand. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. Aaron didn't wait for him to recover. "I've spent weeks piecing this together. The DNA test. The emails. The photos. You've left a trail of evidence a mile wide." Jordan's face went pale, the confidence draining from his features. "Aaron, I..." "Save it," Aaron snapped. "You've already said enough." Jordan slumped back in his seat, his eyes darting around the bar as though looking for an escape. But there was no escape. Not this time. Aaron stood, tossing a few bills on the table. "This isn't over, Jordan. Not by a long shot." As he walked out of the bar, the weight of the confrontation lifted slightly. He had taken the first step. The rest of the plan was already in motion, and soon, both Emily and Jordan would face the consequences of their betrayal. Aaron Carter drove home in silence, his grip on the steering wheel firm as his mind raced through the confrontation with Jordan. The faint scent of pine from the air freshener mingled with the tension in the car, but Aaron barely noticed. His chest ached from the weight of it all, the betrayal, the lies, the knowledge that his son, Max, was biologically his brother's child. Yet, amidst the storm of emotions, a singular clarity emerged: this wasn't over. As Aaron turned into his driveway, the house loomed ahead like a prison. Its walls, once a sanctuary, now felt oppressive, each brick a reminder of the life he had worked tirelessly to build. A life that now teetered on the brink of collapse. Emily was waiting in the living room when Aaron walked in. She sat on the couch, her posture stiff, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. She looked up as he entered, her eyes searching his face for clues, but Aaron offered her nothing. "You're late," she said quietly, her voice tentative. Aaron ignored her, his footsteps heavy as he moved toward the kitchen. He poured himself a glass of water, the sound of the faucet breaking the tense silence. Emily followed him, her movements hesitant. "Aaron, we need to talk," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. He turned to face her, his expression cold and unreadable. "Do we?" Emily flinched at the sharpness in his tone. "Please, she hesitated, her words catching in her throat. "I know I hurt you. I know I made a terrible mistake, but I love you. I love our family." Aaron's jaw tightened. He took a slow sip of water, then set the glass down deliberately. "You love me?" he asked, his voice low and biting. "Funny, because love usually doesn't involve sleeping with someone else, especially my brother." Emily's face crumpled, tears spilling down her cheeks. "It wasn't like that," she protested. "It was. It was a betrayal," Aaron interrupted, his voice rising. "Don't you dare minimize what you've done. You didn't just hurt me, Emily. You destroyed the foundation of our family." Her sobs grew louder, but Aaron felt no sympathy. Not anymore. He had been patient, understanding, even forgiving in the past. But this was different. This was unforgivable. "Did you think I wouldn't find out?" Aaron pressed, his voice growing colder. "Did you think you could lie to me forever? Keep Max's true parentage a secret?" Emily's eyes widened in shock. She choked on the words. "You know." Aaron nodded, his gaze unwavering. "I know everything. The DNA test, the emails, the photos, it's all there." Emily staggered back, her hand covering her mouth as she struggled to find her voice. "Aaron, Save it," he snapped, cutting her off. "I don't want to hear your excuses. I want you to understand what you've done. You didn't just cheat on me, you lied to me every day for 5 years. You let me believe Max was my son." Emily's knees buckled, and she sank into a chair, her sobs filling the room. "I never meant to hurt you," she managed through her tears. "I was desperate. I wanted a child so badly, and you were so distant. I thought this could bring us closer." Aaron's laugh was bitter, devoid of humor. "Closer? You've done the exact opposite. You've torn this family apart." That night, Aaron retreated to the guest room, unable to bear sleeping in the same bed as Emily. His mind churned with anger and heartbreak, but beneath it all was a steely determination. This wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. The next morning, Aaron made a call to a family lawyer he had researched the night before. He outlined his situation in precise, clinical detail, keeping his voice steady despite the turmoil within him. The lawyer listened intently, offering advice and outlining options. "You have a strong case," the lawyer concluded. "But tread carefully. This situation could get messy, especially with your brother involved." Messy didn't begin to cover it, Aaron thought grimly. But he was prepared to face whatever came next. He wasn't just fighting for himself, he was fighting for Max. The boy might not be his biologically, but Aaron had been the one to raise him, to love him, to be there for every milestone. He wouldn't let Emily and Jordan take that away from him. The following weekend, Aaron put his plan into motion. He invited Jordan over for a talk, carefully masking his true intentions. Jordan arrived with an air of nervous confidence, clearly trying to gauge Aaron's mood. They sat on the patio, the late summer sun casting long shadows across the lawn. Aaron offered Jordan a beer, his demeanor calm and measured. "So," Aaron began, leaning back in his chair. "How's life treating you, Jordan?" Jordan chuckled nervously, scratching the back of his neck. It's been better." "I imagine so," Aaron replied, his tone light but laced with menace. "You've been carrying quite the burden, haven't you?" Jordan's smile faltered. Look, Aaron, I know I screwed up. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. It got out of hand. Aaron's eyes hardened. Got out of hand? You fathered a child with my wife, Jordan. That's not out of hand. That's a complete betrayal of trust. Jordan opened his mouth to respond, but Aaron held up a hand to stop him. Save it. I'm not interested in your apologies. I didn't invite you here to listen to excuses. Jordan swallowed hard, his confidence eroding under Aaron's glare. Then why did you invite me? Aaron leaned forward, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. Because I want you to know that I'm done being the nice guy. You and Emily have made your choices, and now it's my turn. I'm going to protect Max, no matter what it takes. And if you try to interfere, I'll make sure everyone knows exactly who you are and what you've done. Jordan paled, his beer forgotten on the table. He stammered something unintelligible, but Aaron had already risen to his feet. Enjoy your day, Jordan, Aaron said, his voice cold. And remember, this isn't over. Aaron spent the following days meticulously laying the groundwork for his revenge. This wasn't going to be a loud, chaotic confrontation. Aaron wanted precision, control, and finality. Both Emily and Jordan had gambled with his trust, and now, it was time to show them the cost of their betrayal. He began by assembling a dossier, a damning compilation of evidence that would dismantle the carefully constructed lives of his wife and his brother. He sifted through their emails and text messages, pulling out the most incriminating exchanges. Each document was a knife sharpened for the inevitable moment when he would use it. Aaron didn't stop there. Using social media and public records, he built a timeline of their affair that painted an unflinchingly clear picture of their deceit. He even hired a private investigator to follow Jordan for a few days, uncovering a string of gambling debts and shady business dealings that could sink his brother's reputation entirely. The first strike came quietly, in the form of an envelope addressed to Jordan's employer, a prominent architectural firm. Inside was a copy of Jordan's financial records, evidence of embezzlement that Aaron's investigator had uncovered during his research. It also included screenshots of Jordan's personal messages admitting to siphoning money from the company for his gambling habit. Aaron imagined the look on Jordan's face when he was called into the office and confronted with the evidence. He knew his brother would be blindsided, scrambling to explain how everything had spiraled out of control. Jordan had always been the golden boy in their family, but Aaron was determined to show him what it felt like to fall from grace. By the end of the week, Aaron received confirmation that Jordan had been terminated. The once smug older brother who had flaunted his charm and success was now jobless, his reputation in shambles. Emily was next. Aaron didn't want to ruin her life outright. She was still the mother of Max, and he wanted to preserve some semblance of stability for the boy. But he needed her to understand the depth of her betrayal and face the consequences of her actions. One evening, after Max had gone to bed, Aaron asked Emily to join him in the living room. She entered hesitantly, her face drawn with worry. Sit down, Aaron said, gesturing to the couch. His voice was calm, but there was an edge to it that made Emily's hands tremble. What is this about? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Aaron reached for the folder he had placed on the coffee table. He opened it, revealing the neatly organized evidence of her affair with Jordan. Emails, text messages, and photos stared back at Emily, each one a piece of the story she had worked so hard to keep hidden. Emily's breath hitched, her hand flying to her mouth. Aaron, Don't, Aaron interrupted, his tone firm. You've said enough. This is everything you've been hiding from me. And now, it's time to face the truth. He slid a second envelope across the table, this one containing the DNA test results that proved Max wasn't his biological son. Emily recoiled as though the paper had physically struck her. I want a divorce, Aaron said, his voice unwavering. And I'm filing for full custody of Max. Emily's head shot up, her eyes wide with panic. You can't, Aaron, please, he's our son. He's my son in every way that matters, Aaron said coldly. I've been the one raising him, loving him, protecting him. You and Jordan can't even begin to claim that. Emily broke down, sobbing into her hands. Aaron felt a flicker of pity but quickly extinguished it. He had given her every chance to come clean, to rebuild their marriage with honesty, and she had squandered it. The final act of Aaron's revenge unfolded at a family gathering, a fitting stage for the truth to be laid bare. He chose the same backyard where Jordan's careless words had first sparked this firestorm. Aaron arrived early, carrying a box of files and photos. He greeted his parents warmly, masking the storm brewing beneath his calm exterior. By the time the rest of the family had gathered, Aaron had positioned himself in the center of the group, waiting for the right moment. When Jordan arrived, his usual swagger was noticeably absent. He avoided Aaron's gaze, sticking close to their parents in an attempt to maintain normalcy. Emily, too, lingered on the fringes, her face pale and drawn. As the conversation lulled, Aaron cleared his throat, drawing everyone's attention. "I have something I need to share," he began, his voice steady. He reached into the box and pulled out the first file. "For the past 5 years, I've lived under the illusion of a happy family. But that illusion was shattered the moment my brother decided to betray me in the worst possible way." Jordan stiffened, his face blanching. "Aaron, don't." "Oh, I will," Aaron said, cutting him off. He opened the file and handed it to their father, who frowned as he began to read. "This is a timeline of Jordan's affair with my wife, Emily. It includes evidence of their meetings, communications, and the fact that Jordan is the biological father of Max." A collective gasp rippled through the family as their father's face turned red with anger. Their mother covered her mouth, her eyes brimming with tears. Aaron turned to Emily, his gaze icy. "And you, how dare you lie to me every single day? How dare you let me believe Max was my son while you carried on with my own brother?" Emily burst into tears, unable to respond. Jordan tried to speak, but Aaron silenced him with a glare. "Both of you have shown your true colors," Aaron continued. "But now, everyone knows the truth. You don't get to rewrite this story. You don't get to hide behind your lies anymore." He turned and walked away, leaving the shocked murmurs of his family behind him. The weight that had burdened him for so long began to lift, replaced by a sense of freedom. Aaron knew the road ahead would be difficult, but for the first time in months, he felt like he could finally move forward, on his own terms. In the aftermath of the family gathering, Aaron stood as a man transformed. The weight of betrayal no longer hung over him, it had been replaced by a resolute determination to ensure accountability. His brother Jordan and his soon-to-be ex-wife Emily had been exposed, but Aaron knew that wasn't enough. There was still one thing left to accomplish, ensuring Jordan took responsibility for his biological son, Max. Aaron's first step was to meet with his lawyer, Denise Collins, a sharp, no-nonsense family attorney with a reputation for leaving no stone unturned. As they sat in her downtown office, the city skyline stretching behind her desk, Aaron outlined his plan. "I want full custody of Max," Aaron said, his tone firm. "But I also want Jordan held legally and financially responsible for his role in this mess. He's Max's biological father, and it's time he paid for it, literally." Denise raised an eyebrow, impressed by his composure. "You're asking for child support from your brother?" Aaron nodded. "Max deserves better. I've been there for him since the day he was born, and I'll keep being there for him. But Jordan needs to contribute. He doesn't get to shirk his responsibility just because he's a coward." Denise smiled faintly. "I like the way you think. Legally, it's possible, but it's going to require a few steps. First, we'll need to establish Jordan's paternity in court, even though you already have the DNA test results. Then, we'll file for child support." "I've already done the hard part," Aaron replied, sliding the DNA test results across her desk. "What's next?" The legal process began with a paternity suit. Aaron filed a petition in family court, requesting a formal declaration of Jordan's paternity. Jordan, predictably, tried to fight it. He argued that it was an invasion of his privacy, that Aaron was using the court system for revenge, but the DNA evidence spoke louder than his protests. When the judge ordered a court-administered DNA test, the results were the same: Jordan was Max's biological father. During the hearing, Jordan squirmed under the judge's scrutiny. His charm, so effective in casual settings, failed him in the courtroom. He stammered through weak excuses, attempting to downplay his role in the affair and the resulting child. Aaron watched him with cold satisfaction. This wasn't about spite, it was about justice. Jordan had betrayed him in the most profound way, but Aaron wasn't going to let him walk away unscathed. Once paternity was established, Aaron's lawyer filed for child support. Under state law, biological parents are required to contribute financially to their child's upbringing, regardless of the circumstances of conception. Denise argued the case masterfully, presenting a detailed account of Jordan's income and assets. She emphasized that while Aaron was fully committed to raising Max, Jordan had a financial obligation that couldn't be ignored. Jordan's lawyer tried to argue that Aaron had acted as Max's father for years and that this negated Jordan's responsibility. But Denise was ready. She cited legal precedents showing that biological parents remain liable for child support, even when another parent has acted as the primary caregiver. In the end, the court sided with Aaron. Jordan was ordered to pay monthly child support, a significant amount reflective of his income as an architect, at least before he was fired. The decision was a crushing blow to Jordan, who had already been struggling to find new work after his dismissal. Aaron felt no sympathy. Jordan had made his choices, and now he was facing the consequences. On the day the first payment arrived, Aaron felt a strange sense of closure. The money wasn't for him, it was for Max. It would go toward his education, his hobbies, and ensuring he had the best life possible. Aaron was determined to raise Max with love and stability, free from the shadow of deceit that had once loomed over their family. Emily, now living apart from Aaron, had tried to reconcile with him multiple times, pleading for forgiveness and offering to co-parent Max amicably. But Aaron remained firm. He allowed her to see Max on a limited visitation schedule, supervised to ensure his son's emotional well-being. Emily's actions had consequences, too, and she would have to rebuild trust on her own. As weeks turned into months, Aaron began to heal. He focused on his work, his hobbies, and most importantly, Max. The boy was too young to fully understand the complexities of what had happened, but Aaron made a promise to himself: Max would never feel unloved or unwanted. He was Aaron's son in every way that mattered, and no DNA test could change that. One evening, as Aaron and Max played catch in the backyard, Max looked up at him with a beaming smile. "Dad, you're the best," Max said, his voice full of genuine joy. Aaron's heart swelled. He knelt down and pulled Max into a hug, holding him close. "No, buddy," Aaron whispered. "You're the best." And in that moment, Aaron knew he had won. Not because he had exposed the truth or made Jordan pay child support, but because he had preserved what truly mattered: his relationship with his son, built on love, trust, and unshakable commitment.